5 different quotes I'm going to read, and then we're going to have discussion questions.
I was looking at notes.
I have Chris, it works out very well.
And I can repeat any of them if you need me to, just let me know. First one is by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison, Tree of Life Congregation in McHenry, Illinois. The sixth principle seems extravagant in its hopefulness and improbable in its prospects. Can we continue to say we want world community, peace, liberty, and justice for all? The world is full of genocide, abuse, terror, and war. What have we gotten ourselves into? As naive or impossible as the sixth principle may seem, I am not willing to give up on it. In the face of our culture's apathy and fear, I want to imagine and help create a powerful vision of peace by peaceful means, liberty by liberatory means, justice by just means. I want us to believe and to live as if we believe that a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all is possible. There is no guarantee that we will succeed, but I can assure you that we will improve ourselves and improve the world by trying. The second one is also by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. Justice is the only value that is referred to twice in our Unitarian-Universalist principles, appearing in the second principle as well, which says, justice is getting what you deserve and giving to others what they deserve. Not in the punitive sense that we often use the phrase, but in a sense that asks us to use our moral imaginations to picture a world where every person is seen, valued, and then given at least the basics of what they deserve. That seems simple enough until one looks at the mass of humanity and realizes that just by being born in a certain place, just by belonging to one group or another, one inherits advantages or disadvantages, privilege or pain. The human endeavor is to work for real justice, something that repairs what is broken, that honors each person by giving them what they deserve and asking them to participate in giving everyone else what they deserve. We are asked to help create peace by becoming more peaceful, to create freedom by dismantling oppression, to create justice by changing our way of relating to others and the earth. This is something we can do at any time, internally or externally, in small or large ways, to bring about a world in which our Unitarian Universalist principles are increasingly realized. We may not succeed at perfecting the world, but we will be able to improve it. Little things can make a dramatic difference. I'm reminded of a friend who lamented about how much the need to be smart seems to now outweigh the need to be kind. If we are serious about creating a world of peace, freedom, justice, and wholeness, we can begin by reversing these priorities. Let us dare imagine a world in which the reputation for kindness is valued above all else. A world of perfect peace, freedom, and justice may be an idealistic dream, yet let's not give up on it. Every effort we make to improve ourselves and our communities makes the world a better place, and it makes our lives better too. Every moment of kindness, every wish for wholeness and respect, every time we do what we know is right, makes the world a little more the way we want it to be. And the third one is from Bernard Barak, read by him on CBS Radio in 1953, reprinted on the Onion page of the Wall Street Journal, November 20th, 2010, and quoted by the Reverend Dr. Wayne Robinson, Minister of All Faith UU Congregation, Fort Myers, Florida, in 2010. When I was a younger man, I believed that progress was inevitable, that the world would be better tomorrow and better still the day after. But the thunder of war, the stench of concentration camps, the mushroom cloud of the atomic bomb are not conducive to optimism. Yet my faith in the future, though somewhat shaken, is not destroyed. I still believe in it. If I sometimes doubt that humankind will achieve our potentialities, I never doubt that we can. The reality is that paradise is not for this world. All people cannot be masters, but none need be a slave. We cannot cast out pain from the world, but needless suffering we can. Tragedy will be with us in some degree as long as there is life, but misery can be banished. Injustice will raise its head in the best of all possible worlds, but tyranny we can conquer. Evil will invade some people's hearts. Intolerance will twist some people's minds. But decency is a far more common human attribute, and it can be made to prevail in our daily lives. I have known, as who has not, personal disappointments and despair. But always the thought of tomorrow has buoyed me up. I have looked to the future all my life. I still do. I believe that with courage and intelligence, we can make the future bright with fulfillment. The fourth one is from A. Powles Davies in The Faith Behind Freedom, a Declaration of Faith and Purpose, first presented at the UU Advanced Meeting Boston in 1943. Our purpose is to build a world community of free and equal men, dedicated to equality of human rights and obligations and governed by the laws that free men make. In such a world community, we look for lasting peace, knowing that peace is built on unity and unity on freedom. No world, half slave, half free, can bring lasting peace. We seek complete and universal freedom. Our purpose is a world of liberation, not only from war, but from tyranny of hate and greed, and from the barriers of race and class. As we look for freedom through a better regulation of the world's prosperity, freedom from poverty, freedom from want. We seek a world more equal in its opportunity, free from hereditary privilege, and from entrenchments that defy the common good. We look for equal justice, equal economic treatment, equal education, equal privileges, irrespective of color or creed. There is no room for prejudice or persecution in a free man's world. We earnestly desire an end to nationalism, that love of country may be free from selfish interests. Above the state must be the family of nations, and beyond all other love, the love of mankind. And the last one is from Paul Tillich in The Right to Hope, a sermon at Harvard's Memorial Church in 1965. Also appeared in Christian Century in 1990. The goal of mankind is not progress toward a final stage of perfection. It is the creation of what is possible for man in each particular state of history. And it is the struggle against the forces of evil, old ones and new ones, which arise in each period in a different way. There will be victories as well as defeats in these struggles. There will be progress and regressions. But every victory, every particular progress from injustice to more justice, from suffering to more happiness, from hostility to more peace, from separation to more unity anywhere in mankind, is a manifestation of the eternal in time and space. It is, in the language of the men of the Old and the New Testaments, the coming of the kingdom of God. For the kingdom of God does not come in one dramatic event sometime in the future. It is coming here and now in every act of love, in every manifestation of truth, in every moment of joy, in every experience of the holy. Okay, the sixth principle is all about mankind in all of community of the world. It says, we affirm our goals of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. So the first question is, some people work hard on individual justice issues like Mother Teresa. They feed homeless people, work in school programs, visit and support people in prisons. Some work hard on systematic issues like Bernie Sanders. They attempt to change the systems that create injustice. Is there a relationship between the two? Can they both work together? And which do you think is more important?
Well, absolutely they can work together. I mean, if you're trying to change something, the more people, the better, right?
Right.
And I don't know as though you can, in my opinion, I don't know as though you can really weigh one against the other. Because, you know, when you're talking about something like women's suffrage, for instance, it's an individual thing, right? That's just a political thing, right? But then that has the power to change the system, you know, because now you have more people to change. My opinion.
Anybody else?
I think the one is, the systemic one is, I mean, they're not the same. They're not the same thing. They work like individuals. There's only so much one person can do. One person can do a lot, but they can't affect, on a national level. And so I think then that's where the systemic issues come in. So.
I think people have their hearts in different places too.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people really like to do to see what happens with their work. They go to a homeless shelter, they cook, they feed people, they see something happening, they see the community getting better and all that. And some people are just, going to go to political rallies and do whatever it is that you do at political rallies and write senators and stuff like that. I think it's where your heart is.
It's where your gifts are.
Where your gifts are,
And
exactly.
it's like, I hate speaking in public, but I don't mind getting in the car and driving dogs around.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was with me last week on the,
one without the other.
right. Does anybody think one is more important than the other, or are they equal?
I don't know, let me give the cynic's view of this. I don't think, I have a true belief on a lot of these that we kind of look at the two and say, well, they're working to change something for everyone else. But I think truly there is a belief within the person that there's a selfish portion of it. Mother Teresa did not do this solely out of just goodness in her heart. She did it to convert. She was doing this because she had an agenda. Bernie Sanders, similarly, he is not doing this out of the purest of his heart. He's doing it because he wants to convert people to the political system that he feels is a better served one. So I think there's a selfishness that comes with this, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I think that's why we do most of the things we do. But when we look at people and say, well, how do we make a perfect world, or how do we do this and everyone works together? There has to be something in it for everybody. No one's going to convert to a system that doesn't have an advantage for them somewhere. Be it a personal peace of mind, or a political advantage, or a cultural or money advantage. There's got to be something in it for everyone. And I think that's, when we find that common goal, then it's going to be easy. There will be this world community, because everyone will say, well, I benefit too. So
I think bringing the libertarian point of view in here. I think the individual justice is more, it's much more personal, it's much more, it's a much more one-on-one situation, but it's also one of the reasons why libertarians tend to be very leery of the second one is because the first one involves your own free will. It involves nobody does individual justice if they don't want to.
Right.
And whereas when you deal with things like what Bernie Sanders wants to do, then you're involving the government, and that's not a consenting kind of relationship. So that's why I think, I'm always more in favor of the first one than the second. But you can't have a world that's completely free from the second. So,
Right.
in spite of what a lot of libertarians would like to think, but that's So
I
you
think
kind of
you
need to
can't-
have a balance, I think, between the two
Right.
where.
I don't think you can have one without the other.
Right, and you can't, you have to have.
That's the law. That's like, to every action, there's an equal opposite reaction, so you're always gonna have both sides. When we were children, we were always taught to get along. Get along with our friends, our neighbors, our elders. If this world had more of that going on, we would be there.
you kids play together nice.
Yes.
Yes.
I say it 4 times a day.
Absolutely. So maybe classes or some direction for people that don't get that whole, or maybe not don't get it. Maybe they've misplaced that whole idea because of their agenda, like we were talking about.
All out for themselves.
Yeah, because, and I've said to Michael so many times, why does there have to be this side and that side? Why can't there be like right down the middle, everybody's involved, everybody cares, everybody's important, it's all one. Don't understand it.
I got a question within your questions. of supporting people in prison, how come we're not supporting the victims of those people? It's kind of hard. There's somebody eventually going to be in jail for killing those 8 people down in southern Ohio. Who should we be taking care of? The victim's family or the guy who's going to jail? There's a big difference. Having put many people in jail in my career, virtually every one of them, at least for my part, deserve to be there.
Right.
They put themselves there by their own choice. Why are we supporting them? And not a single word on this sheet is mentioned about the victims.
That's a good point. I think Sam sort of stole this, and,
Wow.
I'm sorry.
For more than one, then it's research. If it's only from one person, it's.
Oh, right. Sam researched that. And we did add stuff to it, or he added stuff to it, but that was definitely an oversight. I think liberty fits in so well. Question number 3 is what you guys were saying about libertarianism. And you were talking a lot about, do you have to sacrifice liberty for community? And I think maybe that's more like a spectrum question. Yes, you do have to sacrifice a little liberty for community, and then where you fall on the spectrum is kind of your opinion. Would that summarize what yours?
We do that every day.
Yeah.
I think it's a normal part of our day-to-day actions. You give up a certain amount of your personal liberty to make society. I drive on the right-hand side of the road, choosing not to drive on the left-hand side of the road because the implications could be, and that's a personal liberty issue versus the greater good. But, so that, we all make that, it's just a matter of what degree you make it.
And how far
Yeah.
it goes.
But I would argue it's not really a you thing, it's more an individual thing. What do you think? I think you.
I don't think anybody can legislate good behavior.
You can only punish bad.
Okay. Very good, excellent. Question number 2. What is your reaction to Olympia Brown, the first woman ordained to our ministry? She said, every person must learn that the people of all nations are children of God and must share the wealth of the world. You may say this is impracticable, but far away, can never be accomplished, but it is what we are appointed to do. Sometime, somehow, somewhere, we must ever teach this great lesson. Do you think that's a universal or UU idea or an individual conviction?
I hear this a lot from the UUA and this idea.
I think it's a universal thing. I think everyone has some of this. It's a matter of, again, that spectrum idea of how much you want to give versus how
Well,
much.
and what does it mean, share the wealth of the world? There's all kinds of different ways that can be done. So,
I have an example. Yesterday I pulled in to get gasoline, and there was this woman walking around the parking lot, and she was asking everyone, saying, I'm from somewhere north in Ohio, and my children and I, those are my girls over there. And there were 3 cars involved in this whole thing. And she said she needed, could I help them because they needed money for gas. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. The man standing on the side of the road that holds up a sign and says, I will work for money, or I will work for food, excuse me, I will work for food. I go down the street, pick up something at a food place, take it back and give him food. I couldn't do that, and I mean, I couldn't do that in the parking lot of the filling station. Because to me, I thought that, I would never do that. I wouldn't have gone out that day purposely because I didn't have the means to do so. So I was torn. I thought about it all day. Should I have helped her? Should I have just, went with my decision? So it's truly what you said, Chris, and it's what's in your heart. I think that that helps all of us, and that makes the difference in all of us is where our heart is. So.
My first instinct would be, this is a scam.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
because it's happened to me before,
Yeah.
so.
There's, maybe I'm a little jaded because my
Sorry.
profession is, not at all, corrections, which goes back to your comment about prison and the victims, because that's what I work with. I work with the incarcerated that have, guys in my group, there's some men in my group that have 22, 26 straight years in prison, which that by itself means the reason why they're there, they really did some horrendous things to other people to do that kind of time. And that's who I work with. But that's my first, maybe not so much my profession, but that would be my reaction too, because there's, and I'm torn, especially this last job I had in inner city Akron, there's a lot of panhandlers. And there's professional panhandlers, they make $30,000, $40,000 a year, just going out there panhandling. And then being a drug counselor, I give some of those, I know some of those folks are, they're going out and they're using that to buy cigarettes, and I see that. I pass by somebody and they pull out a cigarette, I'm going to give you money so you can buy a $5 pack of cigarette. I don't think so. So, you know, but what is the person that really, really needs it that's standing there? But it's the other folks that are buying the liquor, buying the drugs,
So what's the
supporting
lesson?
their habits. So it's not clear to me. Oh, there's somebody has a sign, you know, or is it a scam?
Ask
When
the
they
question.
say, when they see it, have the sign up, we'll work for food, offer them a job, take it back home and rake the leaves in the yard and I'll give you all sorts of food and whatnot. Most of them will say no. The one that says yes, that's the one you want to donate to.
Right along those lines.
And not everybody has this option, but maybe you could draw from this. The gas station scam I come across, at Circle K in Wadsworth, it happens all the time.
Yes.
And I used to work at a gas station there at True North at 71 and 18, and it used to happen there all the time too. People would just parking lot for hours and just beg for money.
I just,
And
she
so,
was walking back and forth.
you know, while you can remain on high alert, and while I think it's foolish not to remain on high alert, you could still maybe find it in yourself to, I have business cards, so I'm able to hand out a business card. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to do that, or you're not comfortable giving out your phone number. But then, like he said, 9 out of 10 don't call, but the one that does call, put them to work and pay them generously, you know? Pay them as much as maybe you would have for the other 9, you know? Or if you see somebody that you can just tell, you know, as a backpack, they look run down, they haven't showered. And you see them down at the truck stops all the time down here. And that's really where I take it upon myself, even if they're not asking, to, you know, maybe go and give them a warm meal. And then maybe, I don't know why I'm saying this, but maybe it's because I'm trying to, I know how that guilty feeling, like, what am I supposed to help you? You're gonna buy cigarettes? What am I supposed to do? You're putting me in an awkward position. Well, I don't really ever feel that awkwardness, and maybe you can draw from that by maybe giving to the people that don't even ask for it, that you can tell, even if they're on vacation and they're just walking across the country, they're gonna
Paying it
appreciate,
forward.
you know, they're gonna appreciate that little kind gesture. And they don't, you know, the scams, they're out there, but
There's
I
people that
hate for
truly
the
need it too.
scam to pull away from the people that truly need it, you know?
I know one of Richard's friends spoke here, and he, what was the guy who plays the piano? Daniel spoke here, and when Richard and Daniel were up I think it was in Michigan, yeah, they came up on somebody who was asking for money, asking for food, and Daniel reached over, and in his glove compartment, he keeps arch cards, you know, McDonald's arch cards.
That's what you-
$5 or $10 thing, and if someone asks for food, reaches in, gives them a card. Feed the man. I mean, and that's, so what, and when asked about it, he said, you know, it is something that he does because it feeds his soul. He's doing the right thing regardless of what the other people are doing, and that's what I've tried to keep, you you know, I have Giant Eagle cards, because they have gas, you know, if someone needs gas, great, I'll be happy to give you this, because you can't buy cigarettes with it, and you can't buy alcohol with it. So, those cards, so it's like, I will be glad to feed somebody that's hard. And if they abuse it, that's on them. I've tried to do something out of the kindness of my heart, there's no.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be in your own, you know, what your own gut feeling is do you wanna take a chance? And, you know, and 99% of the time, you're never gonna know if the money you gave someone was used for what they said they needed, or if it was just a scam, and you're never gonna know. I mean, I gave money to a woman in a bathroom one time. She was crying on her cell phone that it sounded like she was living in a hotel and had just gotten kicked out or something. So I gave her some money, but I never ended up finding out if she was scamming people, although I always thought that women's bathroom, Olive Garden would be a strange place to scam people.
Well, I think this goes back to the first question too, because it seems like when rubber hits the road, most of us are more inclined to do the Mother Teresa than the Bernie Sanders thing, you know?
Right.
In terms of world peace, world community, we do what we can around us. I mean, I don't know if that's a true generalization or not.
I think ultimately that's the way, I think if this is ever gonna be achieved on a kind of like a worldwide scale, I think it's ultimately gonna have to come down to that, because having it done through a government system always has that element of force behind it, and you're detached from, you know, and I'm not one of those that thinks that there's no good government programs or anything like that, but I think, you know, the people that are being helped by government programs, they're very detached from you. You know, you pay your taxes, they go to whatever it is they go to, and then you have no direct connection with any of it. And you don't have the option either of saying, I want to support this over this. It's all a force thing. So, I mean, you're essentially, you know, donating to charity with a gun to your head kind of thing. I mean, ultimately, and that's kind of, I think ultimately the first one, if that can be widespread, I think, you know, around the whole world, I think it's a lot more likely to achieve the world.
That answers question number 5. Do you think the world community is something that can be achieved? How do you balance the 6th principle about achieving world community?
Keyword balance.
Balance.
Well,
I believe people, metaphorically speaking, people make their own ripples in a pond. And those ripples touch the people we're close to. And the more people that are like-minded, the more ripples we get. And I think it goes a little farther and a little stronger with each individual effort.
I think if you look online, like how one person's story can, you know, do what they call go viral on the internet, and it can, you know, one person who's just posting something, next thing you know, she's got 2 million people reading her story. I think if you can do that on an individual level with helping people with this kind of thing, I think it, you know, I think people underestimate. I think we underestimate our own ability to affect things and start like you said, the ripples. So.
But there's people that don't have access to computers or anything at all. They're just surviving day by day. It's hard to get to those type of people.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, is that even with people without interaction, you know, with computers, computers are a great thing, and they're becoming more and more available even to people that, you know, the libraries will provide, they have computer time, so even the homeless can get, but the fact of just, I give to somebody who comes upon some great times, and they give to somebody in those ripples.
Right.
That's the thing, is it touches everybody regardless of whether or not they're connected to the web, because everyone can use a hand, you know, a smile or a handshake, or, you know, a little bit of help when it needs it. That's the kind of thing that goes and goes and goes.
When they're better, they help somebody else.
Yes, you pay it forward, you know, that's how it works.
Oh, the lesson would be making a difference, I guess, right?
Make a small difference now, and you never know where that goes.
it's like what you said, it's the ripple in the pond. It's not a government program, it's one person. It's the quote from, I believe, Gandhi, be the change that you wish to see. It doesn't start with a system or a government, it starts with an individual. I know when I was a parole officer many years ago, one of my clients was an older woman out of Marysville, and she looked like 10, 15 years older than what she was. And she came out as her PO. She had nobody, you know, she just had, there was nobody in her life whatsoever. When she died while she was on supervision with me. And as her parole officer, I went to her funeral. And her caseworker that we were working with her went to her funeral. So it was kind of sad. The only people here is her parole officer. That's not my job classification. That's not what I was paid to do. But that's what we did. You know, it's one person. And we were the people in this person's life. And so we all, in our different walks of life sometimes, we go out of our job classification just because it's the kind thing to do, it's the right thing to do, it's one person making a difference.
So I got kind of with number 6, what can we do within our own church to promote rural communities? Each of us do our own little thing, and every one of us affects and helps someone else.
We're ambassadors for the UU. I mean, if we're doing a kind deed, that's the thing that we want to promote as a church and as a community, you know. And you never know, years later. The only reason I'm here is because when I was an awful young man, my mother says I never was, Reverend West, who was the UU minister here, always laughed, always treated me kindly, always smiled, it was never down on me, never said, you know, chastised me or
Didn't judge you.
at all.
No judgment.
And years later, I find out he's a minister. And I, of course, was shocked because I thought, oh my God, the minister,
Yeah.
thinking, you know,
All
Mother
those jokes
Teresa,
you told.
all those jokes that I told and all those off-color things, and he laughed and treated me wonderfully. And I said, that is the kind of church that I
He knew
want.
it was in
That's
there.
what-
He knew it was in there. You
Yeah.
can almost tell.
And that's the reason I came here, was because of his kind words and how he treated me 10 years before. So,
Yeah, our church, I think our church as a whole can do, you know, like with the LGBT group and that kind of thing too. I think, you know, we can do a little bit bigger things as a church than the individuals can do, so.
Right.
I think we're a cohesive unit here with like-minded people, even though we have individual likes and dislikes. But we all have common love, common justice, common kindness.
Very well said. We'll end with that so we don't.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I heard on the news, and this has been years and years ago, and I ended up writing it in my daughter's little graduation book and so forth. It's just the simplest thing, but this guy was very prosperous and had a big business and this and that. But he was helping the community out. And he said, my mother always told me, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
There you go. Amen.
Amen.